It just really comes down to relationships and networking, getting in rooms that you're uncomfortable in, and just the reps of talking about it and getting better at talking to people and building those relationships and knowing when it's not right.
Hey sis, welcome to the Sisterhood Soul and Strategy Podcast, a space for women building businesses that feel as good as they look. I'm Steph, a small town girl from Wisconsin with big dreams to positively impact the world. This podcast is from the heart, where we share real conversations about building intentional businesses that thrive in every season. And the best part, we talk both soul and strategy, and we wrap it all up in sisterhood. Because let's be real, business is more fun in community. So no matter your age or stage of small business ownership, you stumbled upon this podcast for a reason. Now, let's get to the good stuff. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm so excited to be joined today by my friend, my fellow small business sister, and our very first Sister Circle chapter leader. Please welcome to the podcast, Chris Sander.
Thank you. I love to be here.
We're going to have a great conversation today, and I really want to start with just your kind of origin story, because you haven't been a lifelong entrepreneur. You actually started your business in what you would probably consider your retirement. So tell us a little bit of like what you have done for most of your life for your career path, and then what was your pivot into starting your small business?
So I worked for a government agency, a local county government agency, and I worked in purchasing and contracting. And so most of my career was supporting a vendor network, being in compliance with our contracts, making sure our purchasing met the government rules, making sure they had the correct insurance in place, just supporting them to meet the standards of our contracts. 29 years, and a couple of years before that, actually probably 5 years before retirement, I had written down my retirement date of the 4/4/2025. Having no idea that I would actually meet it. It was the week after I turned 55. In my mind, I thought if I can retire at 55, that's what I want to do. But of course, I had no plans to be able to actually do that. And so I was training for a marathon in 2023. I walked a marathon. So when you walk a marathon, you have hours of walking outside. I did some inside walking when I needed to, but you have hours of training. And I was listening to Mel Robbins' podcasts at that time, just trying to think through, like, what would it look like if I was able to retire at 55? And being out in nature and really getting true to myself, one of the podcasts really hit hard and said, there's signs around you as to what you want to do, what your passion should be, what your message should be. And so I just really kind of leaned into that. And then I got an email from Ramsey Solutions to become a financial coach. And I had gotten that before, but I ignored it. And so I kind of checked into that. And that's where I ended up getting my certification while I was still working full time, a certification as a financial coach, and started just kind of a part time thing. In the fall of 2024, I had an incident at work happen with the counties, work with the states, work with the federal government, and something felt really, really wrong. I felt like my integrity was compromised and that I really couldn't move forward continuing to do what I do. And looking back, it was just God pushing me to do what I knew I needed to do anyway. And so I kind of as a financial coach, I crunch numbers a lot. I crunched the numbers for like 2 months before I actually made the decision, like, yes, I can do this. Of course, if I would have stayed a couple more years, I would have made more in my retirement, but I knew I could do it. And so I knew in November of 2024 that I was going to retire. And then in January, I announced it and ended up retiring actually on April 4th, 2025. the date I had written down 5 years prior that where I wanted to retire, and just launched into my full-time financial coaching role then. So,
Wow. Okay. So I love this. I don't think I actually knew that story of you writing down that date. And Chris, you've told me before, like you and your financial coach, right? You are more on the logical, data driven side
yes.
of, the strategy versus the soul that we talk about a lot. But like that is definitely some like manifesting work, some soul work of like, and like you shared, it was like your nudge from God to go this direction. So I just think that is so inspiring, so empowering because there are so many women out there that are working more of a 9 to 5 job that they're not feeling fulfilled in. They have an idea, they have a vision of a business, but they're just not sure when it is the right time to make that leap. And I've heard you and so many other people tell me I just wrote down a day and I made it happen by that day, right? So I
Yeah.
love that story. It's so empowering. So then you make that leap into entrepreneurship. And what
Yep.
was that like? And how did Sister Circle come into play with your really beginnings of your business?
Right. So I worked with like I said, many of our vendors had businesses. I worked with them to set rates. I worked with them to get things in place to comply with our contracts. So I don't know. I thought I knew how to run a business. And I was a financial coach. Like I got the money part down, and so I just thought I knew how to run a business. And I had watched and helped many of them, get their services working with what we had to do. And so I retired and I was like, okay, now I could put more hours on my calendar, and everybody, I was out networking and everybody's just going to start signing up. And that didn't quite happen. As you know, that's just not how it works usually. And so it was about 2 months, I think, after you launched your book that I was like, I almost always buy my friends' books anyway. And I was like, I should
Oh,
order Steph's book. I got extra time. I'm waiting for clients to come sign up with me. And so I read your book, and I'm not a big reader, but I've become more of a reader now that I have the time for it and I'm not reading a lot in my job. And so I read your book in 3 days and I was like, "Oh wow, like I've never read a book in 3 days." And I was
oh,
like, eh, what I found, just I really connected with all the different seasons, even though I hadn't really been in all of those seasons yet, but I was like, "Wow, okay, so it's not that easy to run your business." And so that at the end of that book there at the end of that book, there was um an invite to join a free meeting, and so I decided to do that, and I showed up for that meeting, and I really liked the room I was in. Everybody felt so supportive, and so that was really where I decided, and the tool was launching your next program, a new program, and I was getting ready to launch a new program, although I didn't say it in that room at that time because I was just kind of a fly on the wall, still looking for my community. And I took that tool and I filled it out and I launched the program, and made enough to really pay for my Sister Circle membership for the year. And so I was like, wow, that tool was just so valuable for me. And there's tools every single month in Sister Circle that will most likely help my business. So that's really what took me from being on my own and into yeah, joining Sister Circle.
now you tried out a lot of different other options too as you were kind of seeking out what do I really need for this stage of my life and business. Will you take us through some of the other things that you tried and then why like that experience even joining us just virtually, right? Because we were not local to your area at the time, really
Yeah.
stuck with you.
Yeah, so actually one of the first calls I made was to another financial coach that coaches. And I knew that I wanted to work probably 30 hours a week. Like I was not going to be any more into the 50, 60 hours a week. And I really felt like working one-to-one with him to actually really get my money's worth, I would have, and he had a program and he was willing, he knew I didn't fit in his program, but he was willing to kind of tweak it and just kind of see. And I was like, I really just didn't feel like the money was going to be worth it for me to work and figure out his program. He was in our community and I liked him. I could connect with him. But I just really didn't feel financially that's the way I wanted to go. And so then I also looked at an entrepreneurial school here in Iowa City, and I met with that guy, and he was like, "Well, you already have the Ramsey framework, so we could work with you, but you're not gonna get the most out of this either." And then I also was just setting up, we have a Business Besties Facebook group here, and so I was setting what we would get together for suppers, and so I was setting up networking suppers, and there'd be so many people that are like, "Yes, yes, let's do it." And so I'd get to the restaurant and I'd get a big table for 15 people and 2 or 3 would show up. And I was like, wow, like this is just getting exhausting trying to get people to show up for the community and for themselves.
Mhm. Yeah, so you tried a
Yeah.
lot of different things, a lot of different groups, explored one-on-one, the college, different things like that. But you really felt like you fit in when you joined Sister Circle, which makes me obviously so happy to hear that. And we also have to share because I've known Chris for quite a long time. She was actually came to my yoga studio back in the day when I had first
Yeah.
started that first business. Um, so we were Facebook friends for, that entire decade. And Chris had messaged me right when I was about to go on maternity leave in 2024, right? So before she had like fully left her 9 to 5 job saying like, "Hey, I had just moved to Iowa and you should totally bring a Sister Circle chapter here to Iowa." And while that was definitely my vision, I was about to have a baby, like, I couldn't even think beyond that, so I was like, "Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
chat about it in the future." So she planted that seed before I even took that leap of saying, "Okay, yeah, we're actually expanding to chapters." So when I did that last year, last September of 2025, you immediately were that first person to say yes, to raise your hand. So why did you do that?
Now that you're pointing out the timing of that, that was all where I was going through getting ready to leave my job too. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about, like, I reached out to you. I'm like, "Hey, I need you here because I'm not finding it here," but I knew you were going on maternity. I'm like, "Enjoy that." But, yeah, so I joined in July or August, and just really, you had dropped something where I was like, "Oh, I hope she's doing a chapter. I hope she's doing a chapter." And so once you did release it, I was the first one to set up a meeting, and I was just like, and I got the information that you put out, and it's an investment. And so it really, I was like, "Okay," and I was like, "I don't know if I can do this or not." And that pull was there, that pull of, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no, but it was definitely a hell yes. And I was like, "Okay, I guess this is what we're doing." I had the funds from uh, extra of everything that I had been putting aside for different things that I didn't need just happened to be there, and it was like, "Okay, it's time." And I just knew that Cedar Rapids had the community and needed this in our community so much, and I just, part of me always goes back to, what if you don't do it? Like, and what if you watch somebody else do it? And so it's just, and how mad I would be at myself if I did that, because there was such a pull there just to start it here. And I knew,
Yeah.
like, of course, us knowing each other, and I was watching what you were doing with Sister Circle when I wasn't even, an entrepreneur, and I watched it grow, and I was like, "This is just," yeah. So I knew we needed it here.
Hey sis, it's Steph here, and I just want to interrupt this episode to ask you if you're listening to this podcast and you have not stepped inside our community, What are you waiting for? What makes Sister Circle so special is that we have both virtual and in-person opportunities for not just connection, but growth and learning and implementation and actually moving the needle in our business on the things that we know are going to make a difference. I want to invite you to join us inside our Circle community for 30 days for just $30 to really experience the energy, the community, and the strategy and all the resources that we have inside of our community. So you're going to get access to as many meetings that are happening in real time, in person, virtual. Really, truly, it's the connections to the women and the sisters inside this community that are priceless. Just join us for a full month to really get the full experience of what Sister Circle is all about. Click the link in the show notes to experience Sister Circle inside our community today. Love that. And I, think that is a common thread of even for me, like starting it and expanding to chapters certainly scared the crap out of me. Um, but I was like, if I don't do this, someone else is going to who is not equipped in the way that I am to carry this out, to carry this through, to do it in the way that I feel is really, in integrity, holding true to our core values, doing it in a way that is emulating that energy, that personal touch that, I bring to the business and you bring to your area. And so if you are listening to this and you're like leaning on the side of like, I do want to create community in my own local area, yeah, if you can't find what you're looking for, it's because you're meant to create it. And it doesn't mean you have to create the entire thing yourself. That's why we have chapter leader opportunities, is because you don't have to do it alone. Just like you don't have to do business alone, you don't have to create a community alone. And honestly, I think creating a community alone is actually very isolating because you're the one holding the
Yeah.
container for everybody, but no one is really like holding that for you. And that's what you get in Sister Circle as a chapter leader is like you get this community of right now it's just me and Chris, but like soon to be other chapter leaders too who also understand what it's like to be the person rallying people together, to bringing, people together every month. And I will say, Chris, too, to your point of like you were trying to put together dinners of people to come. I'm guessing they were free, and there is a big difference between who shows up when it's free and when it's
Mhm.
paid, right? Have you
Right.
noticed the difference now that you have your chapter?
Ooh.
The people showing
Yeah.
up are different.
Yes. Yes. And I go to mostly paid things myself for networking. I go to my chamber.
Yeah.
We have a professional women's network. Like, that's where the people show up. And that's
Yeah.
where the people that are serious about building their business are. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So tell us what it has been like. I've been wanting to do this episode with you for a while, but I'm like, I want to give her some time to get those first few months under your belt, right? So you've been a chapter leader now
Yeah.
since the beginning of this year. So we're almost 5 months into the year. And even just in the
Yes.
conversations that we've had, you're like, I'm feeling so much more confident in leading the meetings and you are crushing it. Like, Chris is literally bringing new people in every single week, every single month, to experience what she is building. And let's also be real, it takes time. It is not something that is just necessarily going to blow up right away, right? It's like any business, you have to take time to plant those seeds. So tell us, 5 months in, where are you at? How are you feeling?
Yeah. I it's been so great beyond my expectations, to be honest.
Oh, yay.
We, yeah, I mean, Steph put together a great framework, had so many tools to get us to launch. We had our social, half the people at the social I didn't know. They really came from the groups on Facebook and Instagram and reaching out to the newspapers and news channels, not newspapers, or the news channels, and really getting the word out there. And that was a lot of Steph and Holly doing that. And in January, meeting and ran that. And I just get so much energy when I'm around you, and I can just tell that, you are meant to be in the front of the room. And so in February, March, it was hard for me to I got a hold of you after Steph checks in with me after every meeting I do. And February meeting, I was like, I don't know, should I send them a survey? I'm not sure I did well, blah, blah, blah. And, and you're like, you did great. And from what you're saying, you did all the right things. And so it was just that growing, that getting the reps and growing. And so March, I was just like, okay, that went okay. And then April and May, I've had this I wasn't sleeping before the February, March meetings, like, the night before I was up thinking about the meeting,
Yeah.
and so April and May, I just was like, "No, I got this," and so I think I have my rhythm down, just getting prepared for the meeting, going through the tool. I actually watch the business masterclass again because I watch it as a business, and then I watch it getting ready to do my presentation and help other people through it. It's a different hat that I wear. And so
Totally.
now it's the confidence, and we're bringing a new member in at least once a month. And, yes, there's definitely some growth that needs to happen there. And I have friends that are my cheerleaders that haven't joined. And that's okay. They have their community, or they're just watching and making sure before they do join us. I've had friends at chamber meetings that have introduced me to others and said, you should look into Chris's sister circle. That is, I think you would be great for that, but they aren't a part of it. So, and that
Yeah.
it's so interesting just to watch the people that jump in, and then the people that have watched and want to, and the people that are just going to be my cheerleaders.
Hmm. Yes. Oh my gosh. And I think I maybe said this to you even in the beginning. It's like you're always going to have your early adopters, like the people that they meet you, they experience you, or me, whichever one it was, right? And they're like,
Right.
I'm all in,
Yep.
like, sign me up.
Yep.
And then you
Yep.
have people that are going to wait and watch
Uh-huh.
and see
Uh-huh.
what you're doing and or like, is she really serious about this, right?
Uh-huh.
And I had those people too. I started with, a handful, founding 15 or 18 or whatever it was, but it took almost 5 or 6 months for people to watch and then be like, "Oh, I wanna be a part of that," right? Like, whatever she's doing, whatever they're doing, people are talking about it by then, like, they've experienced it. So it does take time, for the growth and your growth, right? Like, your growth,
Yep.
and I feel
Yep.
like once you hit that point where your confidence, your growth surpasses whatever's happening in the room, right? Then you're really going to start to grow just exponentially and organically because your confidence is there. You're, showing up in a different energy. And now at this point, we're almost halfway through the year, people can see the results that not just you are creating, but your members are getting too, right? And the momentum and the energy and all of those things. So those first couple months, yeah, can really test you and make
Yeah.
you question like, am I doing the right things? Am I showing up in the right way? But that's where it's my job, I feel, to continue to remind you and encourage you and support you and cheer you on. And while I feel like I have lots of growth in this area too of like, what do you need? Like, how can we support you? Like, what else would be helpful? We're still learning that too, right? But as we continue to gain new chapter leaders, we're going to get even more better systems and like, just all of the things to be able to support you and the rest of those leading their local chapters. So I would love to know what do you feel like has been your biggest challenge in growing it?
Yeah. I think it's just being patient, just like with my business. It's being patient and continuing to find the magic in the mundane, like you continue to say. Like, I continue to talk to people about Sister Circle. I continue to invite people to meetings. I continue to have conversations in the DMs when people follow Sister Circle Cedar Rapids on the socials. It's continuing to do those things because even just the other day, I reached out to somebody that was supposed to be at one of our launch parties that couldn't make it. And she's like, yes, I'm very interested. I just hired somebody to be my general manager. I need to get them in place. Like they're there. And so it's just knowing that the right timing and people will, and when people join, I want them to join because they can't, they can't think of being anywhere else. And so I think
Yeah.
it's just being patient about letting them. Believe it or not, I'm one of those people that waits. I didn't wait on this. I wanted to be the first. That's not like me. I'm generally somebody that will sit and wait and watch. So,
Yeah. Yeah, so the patience piece of it, I think that's huge, and just pointing that out because, yeah, we do want it to it's just like in business, we don't wanna have to sit and, like, be patient for what's to come, but when we're playing the long game, right, some of those relationships that we're building, that we're nurturing take time for people to really see all the magic that's unfolding and then realizing, "I wanna be a part of that." So, I love that, and I'd love to know just, like, what has been one of the best ways for you to grow this community so far? Like, if you were giving advice to the next chapter leader, what would that be?
yeah, I think it just really comes down to relationships and networking, getting in rooms that you're uncomfortable in, and just the reps of talking about it and getting better at talking to people. And building those relationships and knowing when it's not right. When somebody, I've messaged a few people and, I just knew I can tell it's just not right for them. And it's not somebody that I'm going to continue to message because I don't feel they're right for our community. And so but continuing to just network and build those relationships because that's really where I've seen the growth come from is in the relationships I have with people. And having
Absolutely.
relationships with members, just knowing where their, strong points are and going to them for the different things that you need from them. And, the last meeting, I mean, I would ask the question, the members were the ones that were just helping each other out, and, there's different strengths in that room now than were there in January, and it's just fun to watch.
You guys know that I do not mess around when it comes to my skin. And one of the first swaps that I made 7 years ago, before I was this crunchy, before I was a mom, was for my deodorant because I have really sensitive skin and I was getting breakouts from all of the workouts and the sweating that I was doing and continuously applying a deodorant that was so bad for me. I found Primally Pure back in the day, and it is the only deodorant that I have used for the last 7 years. Once I started using Primally Pure deodorant, I never looked back. The lavender scented, I absolutely love it. I put it on auto ship so I don't even have to think about it. And they also have incredible products for babies. They even have a sunscreen that I can't wait to get my hands on for the summertime. So if you're looking for a deodorant to swap out that nasty, toxic stuff that you're putting under your arms every single day, Primally Pure is it. Link in the show notes to save on your first order, and you're welcome. You'll be thanking me later. Yeah, I love that. And that is the beauty of community is it's not all on you to have everyone's answers and solutions. It's the women in the room that get to pour into each other and share their own gifts and superpowers. So you are cultivating that opportunity for them to do so. So I'd love to know like what has been your favorite part so far?
Yeah, I really do think it's just getting to know all of the members a little bit more on a personal level, knowing where their strengths come from, challenging them a little bit. I mean, I'm a coach too. I'm
Yes,
not a
you
business
are.
coach, but I'm a financial coach. And so sometimes you just need to challenge them a little bit and watching them grow. We had a member just in our meeting now that I've seen so much growth from her in the last couple of months, and it's just so neat to watch that growth. and I'm growing too. Like, I'm getting so much out of the community still as a member of Sister Circle with all of the tools that we have, but just watching the growth of the people that are in the room.
Yeah, I love it. It's my favorite part too. It's like a proud teacher coach moment. And that will just continue to fill your cup as a chapter leader over and over and over again. So, out of all the tools and the resources that we've provided as kind of Sister Circle HQ, as we call it, speaker training, summit, next level leader, like what has been most helpful for you to build you up in this role to lead?
As much as I was in a weird position when I came to speaker training, my mom was in the hospital getting ready to get out of the hospital. I had to leave her with my sister, which was totally fine, but I was just not in the great headspace. And then the growth that happened in the speaker training for me, because I had not been up in front of people for a while, and having that framework to work with, and just the framework of the back end support, honestly, knowing that you don't have to build this from scratch, you don't have to come up with the systems. There's definitely areas of growth for me that we've talked about recently. And just knowing that that's there. And as you're getting things ready for the next chapter leaders, putting more guides together. I knew we'd be kind of working through this together and figuring it out a little bit, but you guys have had such a great framework, such great support for the members as they join and maybe have issues getting into you know, finding stuff. And then I've started making sure that I follow up with all the members. If I don't see them in the meetings, like, hey, I just wanted to check in with you. I was a little worried about you. You didn't come. And just kind of having that communication. Headquarters for sure, the speaker training, and just being included in all of the community, coming to the gala, coming to the
Uh,
retreat last fall before I was even a
yeah.
chapter leader, just getting to know the rest of the community. But that framework that I did not have to build from scratch is probably the best. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Forget sometimes of all the things that we do for our community, like the member retreat, like the gala, Summit is just at the top of my mind because we just had it, but like there's all of these opportunities for next level growth and also just filling up your cup and getting to know yourself and fellow sisters more. So I would love to know what is exciting you for the future? Like, what is the next kind of goal or thing that you're excited about with your role as a chapter leader?
I'm excited just to, I mean, my excitement as a chapter leader comes from building, and I'm excited to outgrow the space that we have. We've had a great relationship with First Interstate Bank, and we'll be there until we have over 15 members. Um, but I'm already looking for the next space where we can fit more members than that. And so I really feel like once we get a good 20 plus members, we'll be able to start having things here too, for those members. But really, that's where my excitement comes because as I see new people join each month, and I see such a well rounded community, and I see us really using each other's services and collaborating together and collaborating with lacrosse. Like, it's it's just gonna be it's that dream come true of, yes, I knew this was possible, but that growing and just continuing to add members that are gonna enhance that community is so exciting.
Yes. Oh, well, it's your excitement for the vision and all the possibility that fuels me, right? At the end of the day, like it's you, it's the fellow members that fuel me to keep going, keep building, keep growing. So the last piece of advice I would love for you to share with anyone who is listening to this, who's on the fence, they're curious, they want to start community, what advice would you give them to do that and or why they should do it with Sister Circle.
Right? I would assume that people that are thinking about it on the fence have already been looking at what their options are. But do check out all those options, see where you fit in the best, and really think about growing it from the ground up and how much the systems that I don't really like to deal with, the systems that you have to have in place to be able to build your own community or keep your own community going, where the systems come along with this one. Yes, I've had to build a few of my own systems for prospects and tracking and all the conversations that I've had, but I would say if you see that vision and it's tugging at you, you just can't continue to ignore it. It's 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 just it's really been I I've felt the value of having a sister circle chapter more than I ever expected to when I ended up investing. I've just felt every time I turn around, you're like, well, you're in the next level leader now. And I was like, that's amazing. Like every time I turn around, I just feel like I'm getting value from you and Holly that I didn't expect last, October when I was like, sure, I'll do this. And so I love that part of it, and I would, I just and think being on the leading edge of this, and that's just
Mhm.
exciting.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Well, this has been a really fun conversation, like really kind of peeling back the curtain because we haven't really had this like full conversation even openly with everyone else, right? We talked a little bit about it at Summit. You and I have had private conversations about it, but to really like peel, back the curtain and show people that like this is what it looks like to be a chapter leader. I'm just so grateful. I'm so incredibly grateful for you, Chris. Thank you for sharing with us today. Thank you for believing in me and my vision and saying yes before anyone else ever did. I am just eternally grateful for that. I love having you part of it. What you're building is, like you said, it's next level, it's cutting edge. We're on the edge of something really new and exciting. And I'm just continuously fueled by what you're building and your community to keep going and growing. Where can we
Thank you so
connect
much.
with you or find you? If someone's listening and they're in your area and they want to join your membership, like what is the best way to stay connected with you?
Right. So Sister Circle Cedar Rapids has an Instagram page and a Facebook page. You can reach out to me, Chris Sander, personally if you want. You send me a friend request. If you start following Sister Circle Cedar Rapids, expect just a message from me, just thanking you and seeing if you're interested in joining us for any of the meetings that we have. You can also my email and my website is on my social too, so
Awesome. Thank you so much for listening to this episode and keep fueling your small business journey with sisterhood, soul, and strategy along the way. Hey, sis, if this episode spoke to you, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our weekly conversations that drop every Monday. And would you share this with a fellow sister that needs to hear this message too? If you're craving sisterhood, soul, and strategy in action, I'd love for you to step inside our Sister Circle community, where we gather, grow, and build intentional businesses together in real life and real time. I promise business is more fun in sisterhood. Until next time, keep leading with soul, honoring your season, and don't forget, I'm always cheering for you.